Mike, thanks so much for talking to us as always. Your next title defence is in fact against the legendary Georges St-Pierre. In your words, how did this fight come about?
The fight was actually offered to me in October, and he couldn't get a deal done with George. Fair enough, whatever, business is business. And Dana actually said, get that fight out of your mind. I remember I was working the Fox desk at UFC 207, and Dana came up on the desk, and when we went to commercial break, I said to him, Dana, come on, GSP, what's going on? He said, get that fight out of your mind. That fight is not happening. And then, of course, here we are.
You said you think Georges picked you because he believes you're the easier fight, but he was very complimentary about you, saying, you know, you're a very tough fighter, you're very durable, you're very hardworking. What have you got to say to that?
I know for a fact he's stepping up a weight class because he thinks I'm an easier fighter, and that's what everybody thinks. For whatever reason, I mean, I have a very, very good record. I have a proven record of winning fights, and George thinks he can beat me. It's as simple as that. When Anderson Silva was the champion, he didn't want to step up then. He didn't want to step up and face Anderson Silva, but now all of a sudden, after a 4-year layoff, yeah, now he wants to come back and fight for the belt. So I do take that a little bit personally. Of course I do. I see that as a reflection on my skill set as a fighter. You know, I mean, I do. I take offence to that, and I look forward to proving him wrong in the error of his ways.
What does a win over George do for you, for your rank, for your legacy?
In terms of legacy, I mean, if you look at, you know, the greatest fighters throughout history, if you look at Anderson Silva, Dan Henderson, Georges St-Pierre, they're three of the best fighters to ever compete in mixed martial arts. Not in the UFC, not in Pride, in mixed martial arts, period. So, fighting, beating George, beating Anderson, beating Dan Henderson, for me, I mean, when I'm retired, I can look back and I'll be very proud of what I've achieved.
When you look back at George's fights, what do you recall? What do you remember?
When I look at George, he's an incredible athlete. He's got a great jab, he's got good wrestling, he's got good jiu-jitsu. Sorry, not good wrestling, fantastic jiu-jitsu. But he's not somebody that likes to fight. I do like to fight. I mean, ever since I was a child, I was getting into fights, unfortunately. George stepped away for a reason. He stepped away for a reason. Of course, he was fighting for a long, long time. But there's a reason why he stepped away. You know, you can't step away and then come back after 4 years. It'll be 4 years by the time we fight. Don't tell me there's not going to be ring rust. Don't tell me there's not going to be inner demons. Of course there is. Of course. And he's stepping back the biggest stage possible. Look at what just happened to Ronda Rousey.
He did say he believes he has the higher fight IQ. What are your thoughts on that?
Really? So that's interesting, because I don't think he has. I don't think, of course, who cares about fight IQ? Who cares about fight IQ? If you put me and him against each other, of course there is strategy involved, but at the end of the day, see, there you go. Georges St-Pierre to a T. I've got a better fight IQ. Good for you. No, I'll give you that. You've got a better fight IQ. I'm a better fighter. I'm a better fighter, simple as that. Plain and simple. I will fight that guy any day of the week. Did you see us when we squared up? See the size difference? He doesn't intimidate me in the slightest. All that's going to happen with George, if I lose the fight, I'm going to be on the floor trying to get up the whole time. That's all that's going to happen. I have no fear. He's not going to hurt me. He's not going to knock me out. He's not going to do anything like that. He's just going to try and hold me down. So, call it fight IQ. Call it being a little bitch. Nobody likes getting punched in the face, but this is what we do. It's our job. And, you know, I mean, you look at the state of me, for crying out loud. Jesus Christ. Look at me. I used to be a good-looking guy, but I'm still here. I'm still here, still doing this, because this is what I do. I love it. I love this. George doesn't love this.
You're going to spend a lot of time with each other between now and when the fight actually takes place. Can we sort of expect more of this trash talk that we've just seen?
No, there's no smack talk. There's no smack talk. It ain't smack talk. I swear to God. When I say Georges St-Pierre's a little bitch, that ain't smack talk. He is a little bitch. He's a little bitch. He is. He stepped away because he didn't want to fight. He stepped away because he got his arse kicked. And then he's coming back and he thinks I'm an easy fight. That is the only reason he's picking me. He thinks I'm an easy fight. He's a welterweight. Why isn't he fighting Tyron Woodley? Why isn't he fighting Tyron Woodley? He thinks I'm an easier fight than Tyron. Let's have it right. And I don't care. I don't mind saying that. But those are the facts. All I've got to do for George is learn how to wrestle. That's all I've got to do. I beat George all day long. He will not stand with me. As soon as that fight starts, he's going to jab, double leg. Simple as that. Tell you right now, he's going to jab, he's going to shoot a double leg takedown. Of course, it's mixed martial arts. Of course you're allowed to do that.
Well, that reminds me of your fight with Tim Kennedy, where he smothered you and it's a very frustrating fight. Do you want to avoid that situation?
Yeah, of course. Nobody wants to get held down. I want to fight. I want to fight. If he wants to avoid fighting, then good for him. If he wants to hold me down, he's allowed to do that. I have to stop that. I could fight George right now, but if I wrestle once or twice a week with my son, I'll beat George.
How many more fights do you think you've got in you?
I mean, how many fights do I feel I have left? Many. How many do I want to have? Not many. You know, I think I'll beat George. Of course, I think that. And then I'll fight Yoel Romero or Jacare, whoever is the #1 contender. I think maybe those guys should fight again. Yoel did test positive after all, that is a fact. And if I beat Yoel Romero, I guess, what else am I going to do? I'm just carry on fighting everybody for the rest of my life. You know, I mean, I've achieved it all. I'm very happy of what I've achieved. I've had a great career. I've had a long career. Can't do it forever.
George, thank you so much for joining us and welcome back. Can't wait to see you back in that octagon. And you are indeed going to face Michael Bisping. How did that fight come about?
Well, it came about, I would say, mixed martial art, it's a little bit like the stock market. I compare fighters to stock. Sometimes some stock is very high and then after it gets very low, it fluctuates. I wanted to come back and fight the guy who has the highest stock as possible, who's the biggest draw right now. Conor McGregor is out, Ronda Rousey is out. I wanted to make a big boom, and I know that for a fact that Michael Bisping always wanted to fight me. So I think that's the move that the fans want to see, UFC want to do, and Michael and I want to as well. And it's for the title. It's something that I never attempted before to fight in a different weight class that I used to compete. He's the most dangerous breed. I would call him the worst nightmare for fighters because he doesn't only rely on his talent. He's a hard work guy. He's a grinder. He's been put out before, but he always come back. He's been knocked down before, he always come back. No matter what you throw at him, no matter what is the obstacle, he's gonna cross it. So he's the most dangerous guy. I know when I fight him, I'm gonna have to put the switch off completely to him. He's never gonna give up. I fought a lot of guys in the past. They give up mentally before the fight even ends. But Michael is not that type of guy. He's gonna continue until he can breathe. He's gonna keep going forward, and he's gonna make a very interesting fight.
If it wasn't Michael Bisping holding that middleweight title, if it was Yoel Romero, for example, would you still be wanting to go for the middleweight belt?
It would depend of the stock. What is the value of the stock? I'm not afraid of nobody. I'm not afraid of no human being. Everything I do is calculated. There's different reasons. There are a bunch of reasons why I'm doing things. I do it for the sport, for the love, but also for the business. Belt is important, and I choose. I'm 36 years old right now. I don't have a lot of fight left. I want to make the biggest fight as possible. I want to fight the guys that the stock is the highest, and it would elevate myself. It will be also a fight that the fans want to see and the UFC want to make, and make good money, good business as well. To make my comeback, I needed to find an opponent that excites me. I'm not excited at the idea of fighting a friend. I've never been. And there's plenty of guys to fight in UFC. But I only see Michael Bisping right now. If I come back to competition as the same George St-Pierre used to be, I'm gonna have a very, very bad night against Michael Bisping. The sport has involved, and I'm aware of it. And if I come back, it's because I'm convinced, my coach are convinced, and all my training partners are convinced that I am in my prime, and I am a much better version than I used to be. I got more tools. I'm ready to pull the trigger better, more aggressive, more opportunistic, and physically I'm in my prime. Mentally, I'm at my best. I believe when you perform in a certain area for a performer, as a human being, it's like a triangle. There is the mental, the physical, and the emotional. When I used to compete at the end of my last run, physically I was okay, but emotionally and mentally, I was not really 100%. That's why I had issues, that's why I stepped away, and I don't want to go back into the detail, people knows. But now I'm 100% in those three categories, and I'm better than ever. I believe Michael Bisping will have an advantage in the size, in the weight department, but I do believe I'm a better athlete. I got more tools, I'm more well-rounded, and I got a higher fighting IQ than he does. That's why I'm going to win that fight.
And I've got to ask you, Michael said recently to TMZ that you are out of your mind if you think you can come off the couch after 3 years and take his belt from him. What have you got to say to that?
Well, I've not been exactly sitting on a couch for the last 3 years drinking beer, Michael Bisping. I've been training really hard, and I've been training really hard to come back and make a big boom. And unfortunately, you'll be the victim of that.